Big Shaq enters the funeral unannounced and leaves Mother frozen in tears. Just watch the moment when a high school basketball coach's funeral becomes a moment that rewrites history. The heavy oak doors of St. Matthew's Chapel creaked open, sending a sudden draft through the somber gathering. Sarah Martinez's eulogy for her father halted mid-sentence as all heads turned toward the entrance. There, filling the doorway with his imposing 7'1" frame, stood a man known to millions as Big Shaq, the legendary basketball player whose presence commanded attention wherever he went. His broad shoulders draped in an expertly tailored black Armani suit seemed to fill the entire doorframe, and the morning light streaming in behind him created an almost ethereal silhouette, casting long shadows across the worn stone floor of the chapel. The funeral attendees gasped collectively. Some instinctively reached for their phones, their fingers twitching with the modern reflex to capture every significant moment. Yet the solemnity of the occasion kept them in check, their hands hovering uncertainly over their pockets before returning to their laps. Big Shaq wasn't alone. Behind him, a line of equally towering figures, professional basketball players, in impeccable black suits that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary, filed in silently, each carrying a single white rose. Their steps were measured and deliberate on the ancient stone floor, their faces familiar from countless television appearances and sports magazines. Now, they bore expressions of genuine grief and respect, the kind that couldn't be manufactured for cameras or public relations. Among them were players from different generations, some retired legends who had played in the 80s and 90s, their hair now greying at the temples, others current stars still making headlines, their youth making the solemnity of their expressions even more striking. Sarah's mother, Elena Martinez, gripped the edge of the pew, her knuckles turning white against the dark wood polished by generations of prayers and tears. Her eyes, already red from crying through the night and morning, widened in disbelief, the morning light catching the tears that threatened to spill over, like morning dew on delicate petals. The family hadn't announced the funeral publicly, making the appearance of these sports celebrities even more bewildering and profound. Eleanor watched as each player entered with reverence, their usual confident swagger replaced by humble steps that barely made a sound on the chapel's stone floor. Each footfall was a testament to the gravity of the moment. Robert Martinez had been a basketball coach for over 50 years at the Boys and Girls Clubs of Newark, New Jersey, where he dedicated himself to helping young players, especially those facing challenges in their personal lives. His commitment was as unwavering as the New Jersey sun that often beat down on the outdoor courts during the hot summer months, where he would spend extra hours with players struggling to improve their skills. He never sought recognition, never chased fame or fortune, content instead with the quiet satisfaction of nurturing young talent and shaping character in a way that transcended the game itself. His passion was simple, yet impactful, helping troubled kids through sports, knowing that sometimes all a young person needs is someone to believe in them when others don't. Every day, without fail, he'd arrive at 6 a.m. to open the gym for anyone who wanted to practice. The sound of his keys jingling in the early morning was a signal for young athletes who had nowhere else to go. He'd stay late into the evening, long after others had gone home, working with students who couldn't afford private coaching. He even often bought them shoes from his modest salary when he noticed their footwear wearing thin. The purchases were always made quietly, the new shoes appearing in lockers or handed over with a casual "these were on sale" to preserve the dignity of his players. He knew every player's story, their struggles at home, their dreams for the future, and their fears about the present. The gym became more than just a place to play basketball. It transformed into a sanctuary where young people could escape their troubles and focus on growth, both as athletes and as human beings. The Tiantian's squeaking of sneakers on the polished floor became a symphony of hope, each bounce of the ball a heartbeat of possibility. The walls held countless stories of transformation. Graffiti artists who became graphic designers, their artistic energy channeled into positive outlets. Gang members who became community leaders, their leadership skills redirected toward uplifting. rather than destroying. Troubled teens who found purpose through sport, their anger and frustration transformed into determination and drive. Coach Martinez was one of those rare individuals who really made a difference. His commitment to his students and the time he spent helping them set him apart. Coach Martinez kept a small photo album in his office, not of championship teams or trophy ceremonies, but of graduation days and family celebrations. Moments when his students achieved milestones they once thought impossible. What most people in the chapel that day didn't know was that a few decades ago, a gangly, unfocused young boy named Shaquille O'Neal, now known worldwide as Big Shaq, had wandered into that gym. His shoulders hunched with the weight of expectations he didn't think he could meet, his future as uncertain as the morning fog that often shrouded the Newark streets. Shaq was already beginning to struggle with schoolwork, often feeling disengaged and falling behind. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd, drawn to the false promise of belonging and safety through violence, and seemed headed down a dangerous path. His home life was unstable, marked by empty cupboards and unpaid bills, and the streets were beginning to look like his only option for survival. But Coach Martinez saw something in him that others had missed, not just athletic potential, but a spark of greatness that needed only the right guidance to ignite. Coach Martinez began working with Shaq after school, offering him the support and discipline he needed to stay focused. For 2 years, he made a point of spending extra time with Shaq, guiding him on and off the court. The sound of basketballs bouncing in the gym became the backdrop to their growing bond, helping Shaq find his path when he needed it most. He taught him more than just basketball. He taught him discipline, respect, and the value of education, turning every drill into a metaphor for life's larger challenges. The lessons went far beyond proper shooting form and defensive stances. They were lessons about life, character, and the importance of giving back to others. Each practice session. It began with a discussion about grades and ended with a conversation about dreams, creating a holistic approach to mentorship that addressed the whole person, not just the athlete. When Shaq's family struggled to make ends, the Martinez family would invite him over for dinner, always making sure there was a place for him at their table. The house, though modest, was filled with warmth and the comforting smell of Elena's cooking. When Shaq needed help with his homework and his parents were both working, Elena would tutor him after practice, patiently working through problems with him. She would sit with him at their kitchen table, working through algebra problems with the same persistence her husband showed on the court. Understanding that education was the true path to lasting success, she encouraged him, helping him see the importance of education alongside his athletic talents. Robert never asked for anything in return, never mentioned the sacrifices he and his family made for countless students over the years. He didn't keep track of the meals served, the shoes purchased, or the hours spent. Even as Shaq rose to basketball, stardom, winning championships and breaking records, Robert declined all offers to leave his position for more prestigious roles, including teaching in high school. He remained dedicated to his calling with a humility that seemed almost anachronistic in modern times. He continued mentoring kids until cancer forced him to retire a year ago, and even then, he would still show up to games whenever his strength allowed, cheering from the sidelines with the same enthusiasm he'd shown for decades, his voice growing weaker but his spirit remaining undiminished. When Big Shaq approached the podium, the sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows cast prismatic patterns across his face, creating an almost painterly effect that highlighted the tears in his eyes. The wooden platform creaked slightly under his weight as he adjusted the microphone, his hands trembling slightly, a sight none of his fans had ever witnessed before. This giant of the sport showing such raw vulnerability. The morning light caught his championship ring, sending brief flashes of gold across the chapel walls like silent lightning. "Coach Martinez saved my life," he began, his words catching in his throat, thick with emotion that no amount of media training could disguise. The microphone picked up the slight tremor in his voice, carrying it to every corner of the chapel. "But I'm not special, I'm just one of thousands," he continued, who he touched with his wisdom, his compassion, and his unwavering belief in the power of second chances. One of thousands who learn that character matters more than scoring averages, that integrity outweighs talent. He gestured to the men behind him. We want a testament to success both on and off the court, their collective achievements representing billions in contracts and countless championships, yet all of them sitting, here with the humility of schoolboys,